Hello, literary gladiators family. My name is Gretchen from Betwixt the Books, and I am back with my third quarterly video. And I made this video to settle a bet which I lost. So let me explain. If you didn't watch my intro video or don't know anything about my channel, Betwixt the Books, I am one half of a buddy channel where me and my friend Michaela make videos both together and separately. So we'll make individual reviews, we'll do joint reviews on books we buddy read, and we also make discussions or tags, stuff like that. And so it's really fun when we get together to do what we call Betwixt content, because we try to trade off. You know, she'll pick some books, I'll pick some books. And what really works well about our channel is that while we both really love books and love reading and love, you know, looking at books and characters and writing styles, we're both very different readers. We enjoy some different things. We enjoy some different things. And so while we sometimes read books we're both super interested in, sometimes it's Michaela or me saying, hey, I think we should read this book, and the other person coming along like, are you sure? So recently, Michaela and I did a review of T. Kingfisher's new novella, What Moves the Dead. This is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's story, The House of Usher, and it is horror based. Now, Michaela likes horror and I do not. But, and I'll do a better review of this in a minute, I enjoyed this book and I posted about this on my social media, like, oh, you know, I don't really like horror, but I really enjoyed this one, and so I'm glad Michaela had us read it, and I think other people should. And Michaela made a comment and she was like, I think you like more of these books that I pick than you seem to think that you do, and so maybe you should check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I was like, no, this is incorrect. So anyway, this video is called technically the best books Booktube made me read, by which I mean Michaela made me read and I enjoyed, because as per usual, she is correct. So I'm going to talk about 5 different books that I did not expect to like, but I really enjoyed, all based on Michaela's recommendations, and all have further reviews that you can go out and check out if you're interested. So I'm going to start with that T. Kingfisher book, What Moves the Dead. Again, it's a retelling of an Edgar Allan Poe story. So the general idea of this one is that our main character goes to visit 2 of his friends, a brother and sister pair, because he has gotten word that one or possibly both of them is dying. And so he goes to kind of help check them out, what's going on. And what these people find out, it is a he in the original Edgar Allan Poe story. In this one, the main character is non-binary, and there are a lot of shenanigans going on. You'll find that if you are familiar with the Usher story, the original, it hits a lot of the same beats. However, this one also has super, super creepy rabbits and super, super creepy mushrooms. And I know what I'm saying, and trust me, it gets weird, but it's written really well for such a short novella. The characters are really engaging. They all have really great fleshed out personalities. And honestly, at the end of the day, what I wanted was something creepier, which is like not something I would normally ever say about a horror story. I would be like, yes, keep this on low to medium. I don't want much of this. But it was written so well that that is honestly my only complaint. So if you are looking for a short, creepy, not like jump scare horror, but the kind of horror that like slowly seeps in when you realize something is very much not right, it's that kind of a story with great characters, great representation, and it's just a really fast, fun read that I recommend, and you can watch our review for more on that. The second book, weirdly enough, is also a novella that features non-binary rep. That was not chosen. I'm just going backwards in time on these, but Michaela also picked for us to read The River of Teeth by Sarah Gailey. This is part one of a novella that has been released, both novellas have been released together under the title American Hippo. And if you're wondering, what in the world? It's a story about American hippos. The title is not a lie, although River of Teeth is a better title, I feel. Anyway, this is the story that is set in a alternate reality, 1800s Louisiana, where hippos run free in the South. And hippos were released by the government to try to help predation and things with the environment down in the South. It didn't work out. They now infest the bayous, and so people need to hire hippo cowboys and hippo wranglers to fix their hippo problem. So imagine a novella where Ocean's 11 turns themselves into cowboys and thieves, and their point is not to rustle horses, but to wrangle hippos. That is this novella. I am not kidding you. And I was like, hippo wranglers? Really? The answer, folks, is really, and even though I thought Michaela was being really ridiculous when she suggested this book, it turned out to be great. I loved it. It was ridiculous, but it was also a good story. There was a lot of good characters, and it was just fun. I'm a huge fan of heist Ocean's 11 style stories, and this definitely gave what I didn't know I wanted, I guess. So if you need a Western cowboy hippo wrangler story, you didn't know you need it, but now you know you do. So you can go check out our review for more on that if you want to hear us talk about it even more. Moving back towards some more horror-esque elements, a couple of years ago, we decided to read Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And so while this is, again, not a horror novel in the sense of scary monsters jump out of the dark, it is much like What Moves the Dead, a creeping horror. The kind of horror where it just kind of like sinks into your bones. Like I said, something's not right, and you're just getting more and more and more wrapped into the terror of the setting. Jeff Vandermeer in particular has written a wonderfully luscious setting with incredible writing around basically a part of Florida that has been cordoned off by the government because there is something going on in there that they don't understand. And basically the book is about a woman whose husband went in. It was also made into a movie, so if this is sounding similar, that may also be where it's from. Natalie Portman stars in it. Michaela and I talk about that in our review and how similar it is or not, because she watched that. But anyway, there are some things going on in there that are not only not right, they are potentially world-ending. And this is a story of discovering that, discovering what's at the root of it. It's part one in a series. I have not read the rest of the books in the series because for me, this book was just so good as its own entity that I almost didn't want to continue because it was just, I appreciate above all else incredible writing. And while this book was definitely like, something's very wrong, the writing was incredible. The literary, just some of the one-liners is really good. And even though this kind of ecological horror, sinking, sliding, creeping, something's going wrong and terrible, again, not normally my fare, Michaela was once again right about this one. Sliding into a nonfiction true crime situation, we do the Pop Sugar Challenge every year, and then in the past couple of years we've also been making our own reading challenge, which you can do along with us on our channel. But that year we were doing the Pop Sugar Challenge, and one of the requirements was to read a true crime book. Once again, something Michaela reads significantly more of than I do, by which I mean she had read some and I had read none, because it's not my thing. Especially if the crime is unsolved. Like, don't have me reading something about a serial killer that's still loose in California, because then I I can't visit California till this person is caught. I can't, it's not, no. Anyway, Michaela chose for us to read I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. And this was the story at the time of an unsolved serial rapist and murderer from California, which was not great because I had no plans to visit, but then I definitely had no plans to visit, if you know what I mean. But once again, I was wrapped up into the story. The writing quality of this just seemed incredible. And also what I really appreciated about this is that Michelle McNamara, gives wonderful empathy to the victims, telling their stories without, you know, using what happened to them as shock value. You know, she really empathizes with them and tells their story in a very human way, a very way that honors what they went through. And also she talks about herself. She talks about how her hunt for this killer really started to take over her own life, and she got a little bit too into it. There's another thing about this, which is that in the middle of writing this book, Michelle McNamara actually died. And part of the reason for her death, it was not of natural causes, and they think that part of what was going on was some of the drugs she was taking to kind of handle her own problems, but also the stress of this case. Anyway, her researchers and people who were working with her picked up the mantle. They helped to finish the book, and Michelle's work helped to reignite the search for this killer, the Golden State Killer. And while her husband, Patton Oswalt, was out on tour for the book with the researchers that helped finish it, they actually caught the guy. So I can go to California now. Also, it's a great story. HBO did a documentary on this book, which I then did as a book to documentary review. So you can both check out Michaela and I's review of the book and then my review of the documentary and how it relates to the book. The documentary as well is incredible. It's incredibly cinematic, and then it furthers where the book can't go, you know, into how they got the guy after all this time. And it's just, together, it's just really great. Interesting. If you're vaguely into true crime, you know, I'm not, but I consider it a must read and a must watch. Now I'm gonna hop even further in the Wayback Machine and talk about the way that Betwixt the Book as a channel started. It did not start with Betwixt the Books content. It started with our book club, Bibliomancy for Beginners. And so we used to do, at our peak, we were doing like multiple books a month. We would do an hour-long episode. We had multiple contributors, not just Michaela and myself. There were 4 of us in the beginning, and then there were 3, and then we started. But during one of those seasons, all of which are still available on our channel, Michaela chose for us to read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Now immediately, I was like, absolutely not, because this is the story, partially, and I'll get into that, of Shakespearean actors going around a post-apocalyptic world performing Shakespeare, with the question being that after the apocalypse, in this case a plague, what is the culture that you continue to keep? Like when you're just struggling to survive, what do you do? And not that that's a bad question to ask, I just hate Shakespeare. I'm an English major and I can't stand Shakespeare. I'm done. I took the classes. I don't want to do it ever again. And I said, Michaela, I don't want to read a post-apocalyptic novel. I don't want to read about Shakespeare. Don't do this to me. Anyway, I think this may be at least one of my most recommended books of all time. When I worked at Barnes & Noble and people would come in and ask for a book for their book club, this would always be my #1 recommendation because it's not that long, and the things that it tackles within the book, not just this question about culture, but, you know, community. There's a wide cast of characters. It goes back and forth between before and after the apocalypse. It just tackles a lot of good stuff in a very compact number of pages. And our discussion, which again, you can still go watch, was wonderful and it was great. And then when I moved on to the library, same thing. people coming in for recommendations for their book club or books to write a paper on. I would always love to recommend this book. I suppose if you felt so inclined, you could also title this video Michaela Was Right. It wouldn't mean much to many of you, but it's basically the gist of these were 5 books over the course of our channel, among others that I have also enjoyed, but these 5 in particular, I didn't just read them and say, oh, that was good, and like I'm glad that Michaela had us read that, which is the case honestly with 99.9% of the books that we've handed off to each other over the years. And when we don't like one, we all tend to dislike it. So that's also just fun in its own regard. But, you know, that is the point of Betwixt the Books, is for each of us to widen the other's view, and each of us have the other read something we might not normally, and hopefully find something to enjoy, and always finding something to enjoy and reading them together. So I do hope that you check out some of these reviews with both of us in them, check out our channel, and thanks to everybody for sticking this out with me. Have a great day, everybody. Bye!